A friendly reminder, this is a truly terrifying horror movie with real ghosts. Upon its release, it dominated the genre, crushing all competition, and it is none other than the 2019 horror box office champion, May the Devil Take You. Chapter 2. Remember, never press your thumbprint without caution, because you have no idea whether you're making a pact with a human or a demon. The story takes place 2 years after Alfie and her sister Nara escaped from the villa. Their lives seem to have returned to normal, but the shadow left by the demon still lingers. Every time darkness falls around them, Alfie feels the restless souls of the wronged drifting near her. One morning, Alfie wakes up to find a thief in her house. She quietly picks up a baseball bat and knocks him out from behind, but the thief has an accomplice, and Alfie is stunned and knocked out cold. When Alfie regains consciousness, she finds herself in an unfamiliar place, her feet chained. At that moment, Jannar enters with a group of people. She sincerely apologized to Alfie and said that they never intended to bring her here in this way. This house was once an orphanage, founded by a childless couple. They had treated every child like their own, but after the wife's death, the director Ayub suddenly changed. He began to abuse the children and got a magic book from a priestess. Ayub planned to sacrifice the children's souls to the demon, hoping to bring his wife back to life. But the children discovered his plan and lured Ayub into the basement, drenched him in gasoline and set him on fire, turning him to ash. 15 years passed and the children had grown up, but recently Gaddis claimed she was attacked by Ayub. A few days later, another girl mysteriously died in her home. Everyone suspected that it was Ayub's ghost returning for revenge. After the investigation, they learned that the priestess had made a deal with Alfie's father, and that Alfie and her sister Nara had narrowly escaped the devil's pursuit. So Jannar and the others hoped Alfie could help them. In order to quickly take her sister away from this dangerous place, Alfie reluctantly agreed to their request. Soon, they arrived at the basement where Ayub had been burned to death. They intended to investigate, but the frightened Christy wanted to back out. So Alfie asked her to stay above and watch over her sister Nara, while the rest of them entered the basement. The moment they stepped into the basement, Alfie couldn't help but shiver.
Alfie, kamu emang orang yang kita cari.
Kita harus mulai dari mana?
Seharusnya kita mulai di tempat dia mati.
Martha, who had studied the magic book, believed that before Ayub resurrected his wife, he placed a sacrificial curse on each person, and this curse could only be broken by those who survived at the demon's hands. With that, Martha pulled out the dagger she had prepared earlier. To end this quickly, Alfie, half doubtful, pressed her bloodied thumbprint onto the magic book. But as soon as she did, something strange happened. Alfie's eyes rolled back and her whole body began to shake uncontrollably. Then, the scene of Ayub's death appeared before her eyes. After struggling to chant a few incantations, Alfie fainted. At that moment, the temperature around them suddenly dropped, and a creepy, eerie laugh mysteriously echoed through the walkie-talkie.
Christy sudah menjadi milikku, Leo.
The atmosphere in the basement instantly turned sinister. With the trembling of the rusty saw blade, the tables, chairs, and benches around them started to stir, even floating into the air. In an instant, the entire basement was thrown into chaos. Sparks flew from the saw blade and almost severed Jannar's head. She had just narrowly escaped death when Alfie, with a terrified expression, pointed behind her. An invisible, ghostly hand instantly gripped Jannar's neck. It turned out that everything happening was Ayub's ghost causing trouble, but only Alfie could see him. Just as Jannar was on the brink of suffocation, Ayub suddenly tossed her down and began slamming her head into the ground repeatedly. The others wanted to rush forward to help, but they were so terrified that they could only scream helplessly from the side. The chilling screams echoed upstairs, and Christy, worried about her companions, grabbed a knife and opened the basement entrance. However, her actions almost led to disaster. Ayub's ghost swiftly charged in and directly possessed Christy's body. The people downstairs tried to rush forward to hold down the evil spirit, but it was too late. By now, the ghost had fully taken over Christy's body. It punched through the stairs and slammed the basement door shut. Christy turned her head and fixed her eyes on Nara. Nara quickly ran back to her room and locked the door, but the evil spirit outside wasn't ready to give up. It kept relentlessly slamming into the door. With no other choice, Nara screamed Alfie's name. But the evil spirit broke through first. The ghost searched every corner of the room, but couldn't find Nara. It realized that Nara must be hiding above the wardrobe and slowly moved upward. Just as the spirit was about to succeed, Nara swiftly shoved it aside and then forcefully pushed against the wall. Fortunately, the falling wardrobe pinned the evil spirit underneath. At that moment, Alfie finally arrived. She told her sister to leave, and she stayed behind to fight the evil spirit. Seeing it was no match for her, the ghost fled. Although the crisis was temporarily resolved, Christy could no longer be saved. Everyone blamed Alfie for being too ruthless, but Alfie believed it was Martha's fault. If she hadn't made her press the blood thumbprint, none of this would have happened, and they wouldn't have lost 2 lives. Angrily, Alfie grabbed her sister and was about to leave when the car suddenly broke down at that very moment. Booty told them to wait in the car while he went to get tools for repairs, but just then, a familiar voice echoed in Alfie's ear. Before long, Alfie fell unconscious once again. In her dream, she found herself back at the orphanage. However, Lakshmi's ghost slowly emerged from behind the door and charged straight at her. In a panic, Alfie ran to the first floor only to collide with her dead father. Her father warned her that she must leave quickly because the evil spirit wanted to steal her soul, and that's why it dragged her into this illusion. As Alfie searched for an exit, Ayub silently appeared behind her. The burning sensation on her arm brought Alfie back to reality. But strangely, the burn marks on her arm didn't fade, proving that everything she experienced in the illusion was real. If the children in the orphanage were cursed, then Ayub would never let things end like this. So, Booty and Alfie called Martha and the others to help look for new clues. At that moment, they realized Gaddis was missing, and Leo, worried about her, rushed to the storage room to check, but he didn't notice that Gaddis was hiding behind the door. At that moment, Leo was shocked to find a strange blood symbol drawn at the entrance of the basement. Just as he was puzzled, Gaddis suddenly appeared beside him. Trapped in the pitch-black environment, Leo's mind was filled with unease. He could only rely on the lighter to see his surroundings, which made him feel as though he was once again the lonely and helpless child he used to be. Leo shakily pulled out the walkie-talkie to call for help, but there was no response on the other end. Just then, a white figure flashed past. Driven by curiosity, Leo slowly moved closer, unaware that the white figure had already appeared behind him. Before Leo could recover from his fear, the corpse suddenly came back to life and lunged at him. Powerless to defend himself, Leo was grabbed by the ghost's hand and dragged into the basement. Meanwhile, Alfie discovered another handprint in the spellbook, and a bad feeling immediately arose within her. After further inspection, Alfie noticed something odd in the orphanage group photo. All the children had serious expressions except for Gaddis, who was smiling, sitting on Ayub's lap, with his hand resting on her waist. Alfie immediately realized that Gaddis had to be suffering from Stockholm Syndrome, where the victim starts to feel affection for their abuser and even becomes obedient to them. And this was enough to suggest that everything could have been orchestrated by Gaddis from behind the scenes. The so-called curse-breaking incantation was actually a way to summon Ayub back. Alfie wanted to go out and confront Ayub, but she found that they had already been locked inside the house. Booty quickly took out the walkie-talkie to contact Leo outside, but the voice that responded was Ayub's. The group knew that Leo must have been killed, and they prepared to force the door open. Meanwhile, Gaddis had already changed into a pure white wedding dress and was lying on the bed. She solemnly swore to the air that she was ready to become her foster father's slave. As soon as she finished speaking, she went completely insane. Immediately, Ayub's ghost appeared at the foot of the bed and completed the ritual with Gaddis. When the others finally broke through the door, they found Gaddis sitting at the stairs, ready to send Booty and Martha straight to hell. She had carefully planned everything just to resurrect her beloved Ayub. But to permanently bring Ayub back to life, a stronger vessel was needed, and that person was Alfie. Upon learning the truth, Booty decided to burn the spellbook and erase the curse. However, by then, Gaddis had already gained Ayub's power. But this power didn't affect Alfie. So, Gaddis first knocked Booty unconscious, then controlled Martha to stab herself with a knife and locked both her and Alfie inside a room. Then, without hesitation, Gaddis set the entire room on fire with an oil lamp. With the last bit of her strength, Martha handed the magic book she had stolen from Gaddis to Alfie before losing all signs of life. Seeing the fire spread to the edge of the bed, Alfie, in a panic, cut her finger and made a pact with the demon. With the power of the demon, Alfie successfully escaped from the inferno. After being saved, she first took the severely injured Booty out, then returned to the fire to search for her sister Nara. However, as soon as she closed the door, she fell into the illusion set by Ayub. Alfie opened the door and saw two girls inside playing a clapping game. Now, possessing some demonic power, Alfie easily repelled the two female ghosts, and she also heard Nara's cries for help. But just as they were about to leave, they encountered Ayub's ghost, which suddenly lunged at Alfie and pinned her down. Then, Ayub instantly transformed into Gaddis's form and extended its tongue, intending to invade Alfie's body. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, Alfie controlled a saw blade to swiftly fly over and severed Gaddis's head. Taking advantage of Gaddis falling to the ground, Alfie grabbed Nara and escaped the house. But to their surprise, Gaddis wasn't dead. She quickly chased after them. As soon as Gaddis reached the door, Buddy slammed the gas pedal and crashed into her, completely destroying Gaddis's physical form. However, on the ground, Gaddis's belly visibly expanded at an alarming rate. In the blink of an eye, Ayub crawled out of her stomach. Having abandoned Gaddis's body, Ayub turned and began to crawl toward Booty. In a moment of desperation, Alfie shoved Booty aside, causing Ayub to possess her instead. As Ayub tried to take control of her body, Alfie, knowing she couldn't let him overpower her, stabbed her own heart, killing both herself and Ayub. In her final moments, Alfie's consciousness was pulled into a dark space, where the demon who had made the pact with her appeared before her. The demon told Alfie that Ayub's ghost had been trapped, never to be reborn. But Alfie's life no longer belonged to her, so she had no right to decide her fate. With that, the demon pointed at Alfie's heart, and in the real world, Alfie immediately woke up. With Alfie's resurrection, everything seemed to return to normal. But the evil demon still lurked in the shadows, always ready to resurface at any moment. And that's it for today's story. See you next time.